Okay, guys, welcome to the Sales Recruiting University podcast. I have Ben Vogel here, really excited for another interview. Some context. Ben is the owner of Epic Fitness out here in Salt Lake City. It's the gym that I go to. By the way, it's the best freaking gym in Salt Lake City. They've totally blessed my life, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But anyways, he owns the gym, and I've been able to see his business work for roughly 18 months. Now he has kind of a unique business compared to like our typical client and the typical person that we would interview. But in short, I've seen him recruit, train, and retain really amazing sales, just employee talent. I don't see his people go anywhere. His people are happy, and he's just really good at leading his team. And so I want to have fun just asking him questions today because I'm going to learn stuff will be really applicable to hiring employees, but I'm also going to get this information and relate it to building a sales team because really it's all the same stuff. But anyways, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Ryan, thanks so much for having me, man. I'm doing great. I'm actually up here at the University of Utah and just a nice relaxed place right now.
Awesome. What do you do out there?
Yeah, I'm part of the King Garf Scholarship Club. You haven't heard of it. It's a really cool spot up here where you can just do co-working, have space to work with your team, and just kind of, utilize their suites and their event areas. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to talk you up a little bit because I've just like, you know, you're the like if I look at all the businesses and services that I've interacted with, like in my history, you're the favorite company. You're my favorite company I've ever worked with. So you guys are like,
wow,
you
that's
guys
amazing.
have you guys have an amazing organization. You guys are better at customer service than anybody I've kind of seen, and I just think what you've created is super cool, and I respect you a ton for the business that you've built. For some context too, for the viewers, Ben has built from my perspective, it looks like a really cool entrepreneurial life. He has a lot of the things that small business owners want to accomplish, like income from real estate. He has an amazing team, a lot delegated. He has good leaders, and he has a really cool lifestyle. So I think we're going to learn a ton from him today too. And then also, if you're in Salt Lake City, and you need a sick gym, that's the place to go to. My back has been wrecked for years. When I went there about 18 months ago, the years prior to that, I would go to bed I'd lay in bed at like 4 o'clock, and I'd have to be in bed all day because my body was so jacked up. And now I'm freaking doing deadlifts and squats, and my back pain level used to be like an 8 out of 10 every single day, and now it's like at a 2 out of 10, and I'm doing stuff that I thought I would never do. And so, anyways, I appreciate you guys a ton.
That's awesome, man. Well, I want to just say real quick, Ryan, we appreciate you. And also, none of that would have happened if you hadn't have, one, trusted us, and then two, focused on the process, not just the outcome. And then the third thing is your consistency, man. You're not saying it right now, but you're into the gym like 3-4 days a week, and you're just Mr. Consistency. And we just know you every time. And that's a big piece of why it's working too, is you're putting in the work, man, which we love. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. By the way, too, Frankie at the gym,
Yeah.
he works with a 40 to 50 person recruiting company. I'm going to do a podcast interview with him. He manages over 25 recruiters. So that's going to be cool. That's next week. But anyways, tell us a little bit about yourself and Epic Fitness and kind of how you started your company.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah. So, I started personal training like in the field. And back in 2007, I was reminded by our head coach, Coach Mitch, who he's like, congratulations on 16 years being in business. I'm like, 16 years? Oh, wait. Yeah, that's when I kind of started, 2007. Wow. So it was on the LinkedIn thing, right? They showed the anniversary. So, but yeah, I've been doing this for 16 years. Oh man, it's 10 years this year. The last 10 years we've owned our brick and mortar since 2013. So been officially Epic Fitness and in brick and mortar style since then. And in these last 10 years, for me, like you said, it's a lifestyle, right? I've got 2 kids, 2 boys, 8.5, almost 9 and 10 years old. So they're like 16 months apart. And it's just great to be able to, we're going to talk about all this stuff, but like delegating and creating roles for our team that I used to hold, that I was doing the everything part of the business, and now delegated, and especially with sales, which I know we're going to go into, and hiring for those sales roles. That's really created time in my life where I am not at the gym all day, every day, like I had been the last maybe 6-7 years before that. So
isn't it freaking awesome when you have the team?
Yes, yes, we have an amazing team, and you know all of our team, and you know kind of how they roll. But we'll dive into like how we kind of recruit and get them up
Yeah.
on pretty quickly.
Yeah, just a quick note, right? He was talking about his team. Man, when you stick out, building your business, right? A lot of companies stay small because it's so painful to build a company. But if you kind of like grind it through and you build the team and you get the leaders and the roles and the processes in place and you can delegate and it starts to work without you,
Yeah,
man, it's a grind for kind of a long time, but it is so freaking worth it. Every year that I build SRU, I like my job more because of the team getting bigger and the revenue increasing and delegating more. It's freaking awesome. And so yeah, so let's dive into
yeah,
I guess hiring.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what do you do for your hiring process?
Yeah, great question. So hiring in our process, obviously everybody that we hired initially would come in a personal training role. That's where we first kind of started
Yeah.
our hiring. But the way we hire, and I'll talk about the sales role in a second, the way we hire in those roles initially is just, and in the sales roles now too, is we hire based off of our core values. So we have core values that hold true to us and our company. And we really base that kind of interview when they get over all the hurdles, and then the phone interview, they get through like sending us an email like a video of themselves. We want to see what they're like on camera, because
Mhm.
we really like to hire people that, we'll talk about personality types, but are very like relationship based extroverted people, because that's
Yeah.
kind of what we need in the gym for
Mhm.
those roles. But also for sales roles, we hire for that as well. They don't need to have sales experience per se, but they have to really have two things. That's passion and belief. The passion for like, usually in our business sector, they have passion for being a personal trainer or changing people's lives, right? That's the first thing. And then the second thing is belief, and that's belief in like the product or the service that we're offering. They have to
Mhm.
believe that like what we're doing is going to deliver a change that's going to change somebody's life. Kind of like what you talked about, Ryan, like
Yeah.
getting out of pain, losing weight, fixing a relationship like a marriage. We do that a lot. And it's just through
Yeah.
people like changing their bodies and the way they
Yeah.
look and feel about
Get
themselves.
sexy,
So
baby.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, the passion belief is a huge thing. And if they have the passion, they have the belief in what they're selling,
Yeah.
that's a really easy thing to continue to sell, sell, and sell. Is like, I remember my very first gal that I turned into a sales role. I think you remember Elena. And
Yep.
it was great because it got to the point where I was training her on sales. She's like, this is so hard. Like, this is so hard to sell. I'm like, what's hard about it? The first question I
Mhm.
asked her was, do you believe in what you're selling? Do you believe in the product that we're delivering here at the gym and the service of delivering the gym? She said 100%. Like, I'm a member. I do my program and I believe in it because it's changed my life. And I'm
Mm.
like, tell your story to the
Mm.
person in front of you. If you tell your story that you believe so strongly in this, that it was a life changer in your life, and then you can see the light bulb go off for her, and she's like, you're right. I'm gonna start telling my story. And she got more vulnerable telling her story
Yeah.
about like what it means to her, to be fit and to be strong. And so that was like the little light bulb in my mind was like having the belief, right? That's a big deal. So
Huge.
going to that is huge. Believe in the product and service, what we're delivering. And then the sales part is just easy after that, right? Once they
Mhm.
they're in our system and they believe in everything we're doing, and maybe they were a member previously, we've had that before, that's a big, big deal. Um,
Yeah. Love it.
yeah, if we
Love it. I
have,
want to recap
yeah, go
on a
ahead.
couple of things real quick. The
Yeah.
core values piece, right? That's a big one. Do you kind of have yours memorized or listed there, or do you? Yeah.
Yeah, so we used to always have these core value cards all around, and this is something we are actually we're updating. So they're all on the
Mhm.
website. It's like it's really, really cool because like every single core value we have core value questions that are attached to those core values. Like have fun and laugh regularly. That's one of them,
Mhm.
right? That's
Which
what we
everybody
want.
does there, by the way.
What's
Love
that?
that. Everybody does that on your
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's one of them, but like it's how do we create that and cultivate that on a daily basis? So the question we would ask a potential new hire would be, tell me a funny joke. It could be like, tell me
Yeah.
something like, not that you're a comedian, but tell me something
Yeah.
funny, or tell me a time where you had to brighten somebody's day, like, and what did you do, like for a
Yeah.
customer? Like things that
Yeah.
are like that, where they actually have to recall an experience in the past of when they did that. And so we utilize, every section we have a scripted out conversation with a potential new hire that's based around our core values.
Love it, love it. And the core values piece is huge, and it really applies to every type of role, whether you're hiring an administrative assistant or a really senior level, sales role. But if I relate it to building a commission-based sales team, which is what we do, we push this a lot on our clients to try to define what their mission, vision, and values are, so they can start to get clarity around business decisions and actually hire around that stuff like you do, right? Because you have your values listed out, right? The values is kind of how you interact every single day within your job. And it also, if people align with your values, you actually end up liking the people that you work with every day, which, by the way, if you're a sales leader and owner, you definitely don't want to dislike the people that you're working with. Even if, just because they can do the job doesn't mean you don't want to like them, right? So you want to hire people that you enjoy working with and that align with who you are every single day. So he's defined his core values. And like he said, he has really specific questions around each one of those core values, so his team can better determine if this person most likely aligns with those core values, and then make a judgment on the candidate based on how they answer those questions. That can really help you get clarity on who you want to hire, right? It's typically core value questions and then skill questions. The skill questions are really, relevant to the opportunity. Like the administrative assistant is going to have a lot different questions than maybe a B2B senior level sales role that has a 90-day sales cycle, right? But one of the things that we've, seen in the past is a lot of owners, they only focus on skill set and background, and they don't realize that, man, if you can have people align with your values and just provide them the leadership and training to grow up into the role, then that's what you want, because they don't come with baggage. You can train them in who you want to be from a skill set perspective, and they're just the people that you want to work with. Also, you said something about doing a phone interview and video interview. This is just kind of a side thing. This doesn't align with like our high volume sales recruiting process, but in salaried roles, right, you have a little bit more leverage to have candidates jump through more hoops, right? He said he gets a video from the people before I think he brings them into the gym for that, that first one-on-one, whatever the process is. And so those are, you could put screening kind of things at the beginning to protect your time on the front end to ensure that your one-on-ones are really solid. And sorry, a couple other things, because there's gold there that are really relevant to building the sales team. You said the last thing was passion and belief. Okay, this is really difficult. He's in a unique opportunity, right? Tons of success stories of people like myself, also trained people that are trainers that are coming into his hiring process, right? He hires trainers, right? So that's really specific. So they ideally, they already want to be a trainer, right? So that's pretty specific. But he also wants them to have high belief in the opportunity, so they're excited to come to work every day and actually excited to sell what they offer. Really relevant to building a sales team. But one of the things that's really difficult when you're building a commission-based sales team is actually getting that belief at the beginning, in terms of like, high volume sales recruiting. You're persuading people into this commission-based sales role, right? So they're bought into the industry, the company story, the plans for growth in the future, the comp model, how you could advance into the opportunity, and you've got them emotionally bought in. So they're like, heck yes, I want to work with you. But one of the things that you want to close the gap on during the ramp up period until the rep is making money, you want to keep them bought in and keep their belief system high. And that can come from rep testimonials, team member testimonials that have had success within your organization. It can come from client testimonials. Like, he's going to show his team what I said at the beginning, and they're going to be like, heck yeah, their belief system is going to increase, right? So one of the things, just a side note, that you want to do with your new hires, regardless of the role, is get the belief system high, because that's going to help them sell more. But thank you for sharing all that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sure.
So sorry, you do the hiring, you got your skill, you got your value-based questions and your one-on-one. And do you do like, a one-on-one or a couple, or how do you do that with, and is it just you or other team members?
Yeah, great question. When they come in for the interview in person, we like to do it in small groups, kind of like how we train you. So it'd be 1 to 4. Usually we have between usually 2 to 3 candidates works really good. And we'll have myself and then my 2 managers, Mitch and Megan, will interview, and we'll just kind of split it up into thirds, basically how we do it. So we kind of take take turns asking the questions.
Mm.
And but when we're all in the same room, we don't tell the applicant that they're going to be not the only one. And so for some people, we want to see how they react, because what we say is we work in teams.
Yeah.
All of us work together as a team. So we have this as a team interview. And sometimes it throws them off guard, but most of the time they roll with the punches. But I think it's a good, for us, for our business, it works really well. And it really kind of, you can see how people are a little bit under pressure.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't even know that you do like a group interview environment. That's super cool. That's our model, right? Is pumping people into group interviews. And so just a couple of things there, right? One of the reasons that they do that is because it's super efficient, right? If they get 4 people to, if they invite 4 people in, they know maybe 3 people, maybe more people show up because it's really a unique role and it's a good gym and those kind of things. But if 3 out of the 4 people show up, it's okay because they have that same time block in their schedule to meet those 3 people. I think that's really, really cool. And so you do a presentation about the opportunity and then you break off individually. How does that work?
We actually keep them in the group. So we actually keep them together, and we'll kind of go around, merry-go-round style, and just ask one question and get the answer from each person, and we'll start at another spot, so it's not always the first person answering the question over and over again. And so they have like the advantage, It's like, I was going to actually say that. It's like we kind of mix it up. It's fair for them in that team environment.
Very cool. And that's a good tip for the kind of the group interview, right? Because part of the group interview, it's, like I said, efficiency, right? It protects your time a lot from no-shows, allows you to do a lot at once. And all you have to do is just let them know exactly why you're doing it, right? He sets the stage with, hey guys, so this is going to be a group thing. One of the big reasons is because, we're an organization that is constantly interacting with people, and we want to see that it's something that you're excited about. We want to see how you interact with that because that's part of the hiring process, right? And so that all of a sudden, if you told people, hey, you're going to go into a group interview, right, it kind of maybe turns them off. But if you explain what's going to happen and why it happens like that, and it intellectually makes sense to them, then you can kind of get away with putting people in the group interview, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah. And so, and then you do your kind of your culture questions in a group environment.
Yes, and I'll back up real quick because we actually the last kind of mini hurdle. This is when we've already decided they're going to come in for that group interview. The last little hurdle that I think could be relevant for you guys is we send over like it's a really quick questionnaire on on kind of what personality type they may be based on how they answer the questions.
Yeah.
It takes like 5 minutes for them to fill out. We can really tell, and we just base it off of the four different personality types that we go is either they're fact-based or they're relationship-based. Either they have more introverted qualities or more extroverted qualities, and based on how they answer the questions, we'll know kind of who's coming in front of us, whether they're more introverted, more extroverted, and then the type of questions we're going to ask them based on their personality type that we think they are based off of the answers that they gave to the questions. So that's really kind of like little ninja extra skill for us. We get a little extra information about how their head work, how their brain works, but also like I said, we're looking for like relationship-based extroverted people that can really listen to people's feelings, internalize a little bit, but also like be in that regard for people. We can ask people that are like very more fact-based introverted that we may not like consider hiring. We might ask them a more relationship-based question and see how they answer it too. So
yeah. When you get that, is that like a free assessment? Is that the 16 personalities thing, or what's the tool?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now. I think it's a Myers-Briggs thing, and we bought it and we send it out as like a little thing they can reply back to.
Very cool. And then because that's a tool coming into the gym, do you opt out a lot of people at that time?
No,
or
so
you just use it to.
That's like, once we've decided we're going to bring them in, that's like the extra credit that we send that over and say, one last thing before you come in, fill this out. And it shows us that they're dedicated to actually showing up to that interview. They have to go over that one last hurdle. We get the email, ding, come in, and we use that last piece of information for our interview stuff.
Yeah. You know what I love about that too? I was just working on this working on something similar this morning, is you knowing that information about them, right? And as a side note, like all these steps, right? And he's not hiring a million people, right? He wants one solid trainer every few months or whatever it is, right? So a little bit different than hiring like 5, 10 salespeople at once, right? Where there's, onboarding more, higher attrition. But regardless, if you have kind of the time investment into the hiring process, these steps can better help you understand who to hire. And what I like about the personalities piece is it can also help you close people better, right? If you know how to interact with them, you can kind of make judgments on what they are like and what they care about, so you can better close people, if that makes sense, which I think is awesome.
100%. Yeah, you know the person that's walking in front of you much better. You get it off the video too. Like when they send the video back, you can tell like how they move, and if they're all over the place, they're going to be more relationship based and more extroverted and stuff. If they're very quiet and their tone's very low, like you kind of know before you send over that little assessment. They're like, I'm going to deal with a really fun extrovert person when they come in.
Yeah.
So that's for sure.
Love it. Love it. Do you guys do like a scorecard between you and Mitch and maybe other people, or how does that work?
When they come in for like the group interview, they are graded like a 1 to 5 with each question, and we basically like we each have our sheets with the same questions, and we're based on like the question that Mitch asks. We'll score 1 to 5, and then like take any notes or anything. And then after the interviews, we'll get all together and be like, how close were we on scoring these people?
Yeah.
Like how they reacted to the questions and answered them.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what a candidate scorecard, it's they probably have like a document, maybe it's online, maybe it's just like a 1-pager, but they're really clear on what their values are, right? Let's say they hypothetically have 4 values, and maybe on that document 2, maybe not, but on that document maybe there's like basic skills, like these are the 3 skills. And he was talking earlier about how we have questions based around our values. And then I imagine that there's at least some questions based around like skill sets and background and licensing as a trainer and those kind of things, right? And so they have this document. And then in his case, they have the leadership and the time availability to invest in the hiring process for this. They all have their own separate scorecard, right? Where they got their, 4 or 5 values, whatever the number is, their skill, things that are listed out. And separately, they rate the candidate based on the questions that they're all familiar with. They're all doing the same stuff. They rate the candidate from 1 to 5. And then what they can do is they can come together after and have a really objective view of the people that they interviewed, right? It's like, hey, we have, these 10 things that we're rating them on, 1 to 5, which is up to, 50 points. And it's like, John got 34, Sally got 39, and Ryan got 50 because he's a G. I'm just kidding. But and so then they can make an objective decision, and it's not like, but I really like this person or that kind of thing. It's like objective. They best align with our values, best align with our skill sets, and taking the time on the front end in the hiring process and, really putting in the work on the front end can help a lot with attrition on the back end and ultimately find people that you love working with. So that is super cool. And, for like a sales organization, right? Anybody can implement this. If you're a solo owner and you're still selling and you're the one making all your money and those kind of things, and you're really busy, it probably probably can make sense to take the time to do it, because you don't have the time to maybe onboard 5 or 10 people at once to let 75% of those commission-based sales reps transition out, because you're not going to retain 100%. So maybe it makes sense to try to be more choosy on the front end with the candidate scorecard. If you have multiple leaders, like maybe you're a VP and you have a regional sales manager and 2 sales managers under them, maybe they're involved in some, part of the hiring process, and you guys can do a similar thing. But that extra step, it is a time investment, but definitely a game changer. So when you hire, if you were to hire me, what happens from there?
Yeah, so going into training, and now I'll talk more about training for our sales role, because this has been a newer thing over the last few years. I used to do every single strategy session, that the initial inquiry that would come in, I would be the one sitting on the sales desk selling them every time.
Yeah.
In the last few years, it's transitioned now where my goal is to do 0% of it. Right now I'm at about probably 50 to 60%. But my other two team members that we're training, basically it would start out, Ryan, I would start out with a lot of role play. So before you get live with a client, or role play, role play, role play. We have a script for every single sales conversation, whether it's over the phone, whether it's in person, whether it's sitting at that sales desk for the initial in-person strategy session, whether it's a discovery call on the phone. They're all role played out first before they go live. And then this next part would be, yeah, from there, it's okay, I am shadowing you. Either I'm shadowing the call or recording the call. We're shadowing the in-person conversation. A walk-in comes in, Megan's up there and hasn't done her walk-in yet, but we've role played for 10 hours. It's like, cool, you're live, like grab it, and it's yours.
Love
sort
it.
of thing. A phone call comes in. Every one of our coaches and sales team knows how to answer the phone, obviously, and we have a script for every piece of the conversation, especially if it's an inquiry or a lead. So that's a big thing. I think the two big things are we role play a ton. I'd say between 8 to 10 hours before they even touch a live person.
Wow.
And they have there's a script for every conversation. So we really button this up with SOPs. So there's an SOP for our a phone call in the gym, or just any kind of call comes in the gym. You know how we answer the phone. It's Upgrading Lives at Epic Fitness. This is Ben. Who am I speaking with?
Yep.
We have control of the conversation because I got you to answer the first question.
Yep.
It's not just Upgrading Lives at Epic Fitness and you ask, hey, how much are your memberships?
Yeah. Love
But
it.
if you say, hey, it's Ryan, how much are your memberships? Then we pull it back and we say, awesome, Ryan, thanks so much for calling. It sounds like you're really interested in knowing how much the investment here is at the gym. What is it you're looking for in a gym? What do you want to accomplish? And we really we try to get that hot button first before we just blurt out what the price is, to try to add the value and what we actually can do.
Yep.
I'm getting off a little bit on a tangent on
No, I love it. This is gold.
But
this is awesome.
Honestly, you call any gym in Salt Lake City, they're not going to answer with asking the question and introducing themselves with the name. So that's the big thing is taking control of the conversation. I'll talk really quickly on our script there. We have every single person that answers the phone, whether they're a coach or a salesperson, they have to get the name, phone number, and email. Those are the most three important parts: first name and last name, phone number, email. And then at the last point, it's getting their strategy sessions scheduled, or getting the next step is usually that call can become the discovery call, which we ask more kind of pertinent questions on what they're looking for in a gym. And we go over, I was going to go over this in the next piece, but actually, no, I was going to do it here. When we're training the team to overcome objections too, it happens a lot in the phone calls. So our goal is, you're doing this all the time as a salesperson, right? You want to overcome the top 3 objections we get, and I'm sure that you guys have all the time with most people that are selling things, either time, money, or spouse, right? And I'll tell you, if you can get those 3 top overcoming those objections done before you actually have to sit down or do the sales presentation or make that call and go over your sales, what you're actually selling, it's huge. So time for us is in the discovery phone call before they even walk in the gym. It's we ask the question, how many days a week, Ryan, are you able to commit to coming into the gym? And you're like, you know what, I really can't commit anytime. Okay, that answers the question then. Probably not a good fit. Or I can commit 2 to 3 days a week. Ryan, our most successful members come on average between 2 to 3 days a week. That's perfect. So I'm actually anchoring that on top of somebody that's successful in our gym.
Love it.
Yeah, and it's the truth too. The second one is money. We never used to ask this question, but it's been a game changer for us over the phone, inquiry calls. How much are your memberships? I roll back on you, Ryan. Actually, I want to ask you, how much are you looking to invest in your health and fitness? What's your fitness budget for something like this?
Yeah.
And they're a lot of times it goes this way. You know what? I'm not sure. I never really thought about that. Boom. Then I anchor on something else on a higher price point. Hey, Ryan, or maybe you told me in the past you've worked one-on-one with a trainer or whatnot. We'll always use this. We'll say, as you know, Ryan, when you work with one-on-one with a coach, the average price of that in that kind of boutique fitness arena is between $100 to $150 an hour. But that's not us. Our most popular memberships, they range between $98 to $148, and that's billed bi-weekly. So between $296 to $396 per month. Would that fit within your budget? And you're you told me just 5 minutes ago that you spend $100 a session, 8 sessions a month. So what's the math there? $800 a month. You're yeah. Or if you say no, then it doesn't align with what you just told me. So the big thing is we ask the money question, how much are you willing to invest in your health and fitness? That takes money off the table when we actually show them everything and get them dialed into the last 10 minutes of the sales conversation. The third one is spouse.
Yeah.
Now, spouse can be a tough one over the phone. So we normally hit that when they come in. And when they come in, the way we do that is we have a medical health history form. It's like 4 or 5 pages. On the very first page, we actually have them fill it out. It's name, phone number, address. In the very, very bottom, we have emergency contact information. We need to have that legally to have just in case it happens. But the really cool thing about having the emergency contact information, they put their spouse or significant other. And what do we do? Train the sales team to do right when they pull that paper back, and we fill out the rest of the information. It's like, hey, Ryan, you know, it looks like you know, Monica is looks like Monica's your wife. And it sounds like, you know, does she know you're here? Is usually the first question. Does she know you're here? And you're like, oh yeah, she totally does. It sounds like she's really supportive of you being here. Like I can just make that assumption based on her knowing that you're there. Yeah. So you're just assuming that she's all in with you being here. That's what I'm hearing. Oh yeah, she knows I'm here. She's all in. She knows I need to fix my back and whatever. So we ask that question first. And what it does is at the end, they can't say, I have to call my spouse because they just gave permission in the beginning. So those are the big 3 that we use. The first 2, obviously, before they walk in the gym, we've already overcome it. And in our sales script, we're asking, you know, Ryan, like, it's like, you know, towards the end, it's like, so tell me again, how many days a week can you commit based on our schedule, based on the hours we're open? Is this 2 to 3? You know, oh yeah, actually I could probably do a 4th day. Awesome. I'm gonna write that in. What time of day works best for you to come in and train? Boom. Now I have you committed, a little pre-commitment strategy on day, time, how many days a week. And then in the very beginning of the sales piece, we'll ask, and we'll train our team to ask this. It's like, you know, how many days a week, all that, boom, 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 boom. And then we'll just make sure I say, hey, based on everything you've told me in that discovery call, or it could have been like Megan took the discovery call and gave me all information. Based on all the information that Megan gave me, it sounds like you're able to commit to between 2 to 3 days a week in coaching. Now, based off of like your time and all that, I'm going to make a professional recommendation today on what I think the best membership for you will be. And so if they're like, I actually reframe it. And I want to be with a coach like every day, every time I walk in the gym, and that is 3 days a week. Then I move up to our platinum level, which is one of our most expensive memberships. You know, that's kind of like, you know, the thing about it is like, we have to reframe is like, how much support do you want? Do you want support every time? Do you feel like you do client-led version of this, you know? So in our scenario, in our systems, we always are thinking about upgrade at every level, but asking the right questions and reframing, like you said.
Yeah, I love it. You're, you know, a lot of question-based and assumption-based selling, and there's a bunch of stuff I want to recap because there's a ton of gold in here. And I didn't realize you were such a good sales guy, which is super cool. That's awesome. That is awesome. Actually, one thing to know is, and this has impacted Ben's revenue and the success of his team members and him delegating sales to other people, is he's been working, you know, heavily for a decade plus on selling, you know, high quality or, you know, premium gym, you know, packages, right? And so he's worked on the same process over and over and over again for years. And there's a couple, and the reason why that's important is because when he, you know, before he delegated sales to somebody, right? This is pretty much common at any owner that's handling all the sales and wants to delegate it. You know, he spent a decade before he even wanted to delegate anything, and he became a 10 out of 10 expert in his field. And when he was selling, he can, you know, break down the information, like all the knowledge stuff, to a client and transfer trust to that client because they're like, this fool is an expert. And because he's an expert and knows every little thing that I have questions or concerns about, I trust him and therefore want to buy. And his decade plus of head knowledge in exactly what he does, that is really difficult to, you know, transfer quickly to somebody that's selling. And therefore you need to work on your sales process. And so you heard him mention things like, I have a script for every area of the sales process. When it comes to your sales process, you want to start thinking about it, right? And this is, there's always an area to improve around this. I feel like, we're a sales recruiting service company and we have almost 50 people, and I'm never happy with our processes. They're always like 1 out of 10 where I want them. Although I know compared to other organizations, they're great. I mean, there's always opportunity for improvement. And in terms of a sales process, you want to list out kind of every stage within it, right? For them, it's maybe incoming lead, pick up the phone, schedule the appointment, confirm the appointment, show up to the gym, fill out the document, whatever, right? For you, whether you have an entry level outside or inside sales role, or they're managing the A to Z sales cycle in the gym or on the phone or in the field door to door or in the business, whatever, for you, there are specific stages in your sales process. And if you bring on a new hire, and this is like, for every role, but we're talking about, sales, if you bring a new hire in and they're not a top 5, top 10%, like, the people watching, these podcasts, the type of people that just can be thrown into anything and wing it, right? Which is not the normal person. If you don't have those kind of people, which is not the normal type of hire, the normal type of person is the average person that ideally aligns with their values. If you don't have a really cookie cutter process that somebody can plug into and it's well-defined and well scripted, it's going to be really difficult for them to see success in that position. And if you add a long ramp up and an all commission opportunity on top of that, man, it's exponentially more difficult. So if you're building a commission-based sales team, you got to really define your sales process in stages, right? And so you list out, okay, what happens first? I'm prospecting, make contact, set appointment, confirm the appointment shows up, I pitch, I follow up, I send contract, close, get referral, whatever the stages are. You want to list those out and define everything that happens within those. And then you also want to think about, hey, what tech is necessary within those sales stages to make it more streamlined so that it's easier for me to sell and future hires to sell, right? And then within those stages, like Ben was talking about, there's certain areas within those stages, whether you have 4 stages or 10, that there's scripting involved, right? When somebody calls in for them, they pick up the phone. That's the first time one of their sales guys or their trainers is going through the process, and they all do the same thing, right? And they know exactly what part of the sales stage that is. And they know after training, okay, I get off the phone, I plug it into the computer, I confirm it, right? They know every little step, and therefore he actually has a process to train them into. And if that's not there, you can't have success with the normal person, which is the type of person that most people are going to hire, because the top 5, 10%ers that leaves out 90% of the population. So that's a big thing that stuck out to me. And then in terms of training, he does 8 to 10 hours of role play. This is huge. Okay. And by the way, when if you're a commission-based sales organization, right? A lot of the times, like a lot of the clients that we help, 75% of them, they need a sales leader, right? They can't do everything under the sun, but you got to realize what you have now and, what you can do for your new hire. So you got to work with what you got, right? When he hired his first person, he probably wasn't doing a role play 8 to 10 hours. That maybe came years after when he realized, oh, this is important, right? But one of the things that he does to really collapse the learning curve for his people is he does 8 to 10 hours of role play. Okay, sales stage, pick up the phone, sales stage, pitch the agreement, right? Let's go through that stuff, right? Role play. I'm the customer, right? And we force them through their learning curve as soon as possible. So when it's actually game day, they're going to do better versus making their learning curve 30 to 60 days longer and just kind of getting kicked in the teeth more during their learning period. He also does shadowing, right? Once they're out of the role play and they're actually pitching, he's got himself or one of their top people shadowing that person to make sure that they're able to do the job well. And so that they can kind of stumble and fail. And, that person shadowing them can correct the information at the end of the pitch and then also provide coaching at the end of it to get the rep through their learning curve. These are huge things, especially in sales training. And I love that this is like perfect for me right now, because I was working on, we help all sorts of different industries, right? And we're redoing all our content and we're not just a sales recruiting service company, but we help them dial in their comp plans, their onboarding, the training, the way that they manage their people, the mission, vision, values, kind of everything necessary to retain people, resulting into sales production. And literally this morning, one of the things I was working on is like, I was developing, I was creating the processes around, hey, this is how you improve your sales process. And I was trying to figure out a cookie cutter way to think about objections so they can define that. And you gave it to me. And I'm super pumped about that. Time, money, partner. So thank you for that. I'm stealing that one. I'm pumped about that.
Take it.
Yeah, I love it. So that is all awesome stuff. So a lot of training goes into your people. And the more, over time, as you grow your company, again, you got to work with what you got. The more human resources that you have over time, the more that you can improve the training process for new hires, which increases your retention rates, right? If I'm a solo owner and I'm working 60 hours per week and I'm like, I need to get my sales team off the ground, right? The training process for the first few hires versus a year away when you have 5 to 10 reps and you've transitioned somebody into leadership, it's night and day because now you have a top rep and a sales manager to help you with that process. But yeah, so freaking gold. I'm loving this, by the way. This is awesome. This is awesome. I was kind of like, I wonder what it'll be like, gym owner, but this is like freaking gold. I really love this. I'm pumped.
Thanks,
okay.
Ryan.
So let's talk about, you have a great team, right? I come there, right? They're all happy. They love their jobs. I don't see people quit, right? The only person that I haven't seen work there anymore was the girl that moved to another state with her husband, right? That's the only one I could think of.
Yeah.
And everybody, I see them doing their responsibilities within the gym and doing a really good job, right? So you've gotten good at delegating responsibilities. How do you delegate responsibilities as a leader?
Yeah, great question, man. I think this is one of the hardest things to do as an owner, especially when you have held on to it so long.
Yeah.
And especially like with sales roles, and I'll talk about sales roles because that's what we're talking about. But the hardest thing is obviously your close rate's going to go down a little bit, but you have to expect that. You have to kind of expect that if I close 8 or 9 out of 10 of every person that walks in, I'm expecting this to go down to maybe 5 or 6 to start it with the people that I train, but knowing that it will get better. And so that's in the short term, that's a short term kind of thing that happens, but in the long term, it's your time that you're getting back, and it's their confidence that you're improving. So that's the big thing. Like I said, the best way to kind of peel off in that way is obviously the shadowing. We talked about that. And then a huge thing we do a ton of after shadowing is, and you talked about it a little bit, but like feedback's a gift. And I always start with I don't love doing like the feedback sandwich, like, God, man, you did awesome on this thing. And then this little part in the, was really shitty. And then, oh, by the way, you did really good here. Like, I don't deliver it that way, but the way to deliver it in real time is like, we start with the good, and then we ask if we can give the usually the other stuff. So delivering feedback in real time has been really, really helpful on delegating things. They learn it quicker that way. And giving the big one is like every single time I get a layup, meaning every single time there's a referral that comes in the gym, a past client, just had a past client come in at 9 a.m. this morning. I don't know if you were there this morning, but past client, it was funny. She called and she said, I've got some good news and bad news. Where I'm like, tell me the bad news first. I hired this coach and I just don't like him at all. But I bought like a 6-week package, so I can't start till February. I'm like, okay, tell me the good news. She's like, I want to come back, So it's just like, those are the layups that we are giving our team right now. Yeah. And so Mitch took that on this morning and he upgraded her and did amazing. And she is, so that was great. So like past client referrals, not as much the cold lead people, at first, but we'll throw in some cold leads there as they start getting those layups, and they get gaining the confidence. They're like, I just got a cold lead, like literally like saw the billboard, right? There's nothing about Epic Fitness or whatever. Came in, they want to just pay $49 for 14 days. And I turned that person into a 12-month paying member, So that's when they gain the confidence. The other big one is we do weekly meetups with our sales team. And that just ensures the sales script is on point. It's smooth. We actually made a big change to our inquiry, our phone inquiry script, where it's kind of like Megan's been doing a lot of these calls. She's like, I actually don't use this little middle section here at all. I'm like, tell me what you use. And she's like, I was like, okay, Megan, I'm Ben. I'm just calling the gym. Give it to me. And she gave it to me. And I'm like, holy crap, that's perfect. Like that's what it's rolling off your mouth as if it was you talking. She got to have the ownership of changing that part of the script. And now it's something our entire team's using. And so we trained them on it, and everybody's like, this rolls way better off my tongue than like using these big fancy words or whatever you use.
Yep.
So for us, it's that getting in front of all objections with our team on any kind of like sales scripting, but also getting in front of any objections in front of like a live sales close.
Yeah.
So we always make sure we go over those top 3 objections, how we're going to counteract them when they ask the questions, especially spouse.
Yep.
That's the best story for you. I don't know like how much in-person sales stuff happens. I know a lot of it happens over the phone, but in person it's really cool because you can go off of body language. You can see legs crossed. The reason we have a glass table, you know why that is, right? Because we can see what their feet are doing, what their legs are doing, and all that stuff we train our team on. Like it's huge, man. Like body language is like 80 to 85% of what people are thinking and feeling in the moment, especially when there's a sales thing at the end.
Yeah.
But the big thing about this part that I want to talk about is like getting them comfortable with like the client. If the client says no, right? Or if the client is asking like questions, or you give the whole pitch and they are like, and you're waiting for an answer, like let there be like the best thing in the world. And you know, this is silence.
Yeah.
The best thing in the world is having silence, and train them not to like jump in. I used to jump in all the time. Oh, I can waive this, or oh, I can give you a free month, or I can give you all this extra BS, basically, and lose money as a business. It's like, you just wait 30 seconds. They start asking questions, and all those questions, they're not objections, they're buying signals. And like teaching our team that every single objection that that we think and frame as an objection is just a buying signal. Like they're ready to buy. You just got to be able to answer the questions. And so that was a big thing. You know, in the past we've had where we always try our best to get the spouse or the person that's the buying decision partner or the buying decision maker in the room at the same time. So, you know, 8 times out of 10, we'll have the spouses come in together, even if it's just the spouse supporting the wife and he's not even planning on doing anything because he has a different membership or whatever. At least he's in the same room. And if he's not, so many times they're like, oh, I got to call my husband to go over this. First off, we didn't do a good job in the beginning to make sure that they were supportive in the very beginning. We talked about the second piece is we'll just say, hey, Monica, that's totally cool. You want to give Ryan a call now? And I'll just step away. And like put it on, and like a lot of times it's like, yeah, let me call him really quick, or it's like, actually I want to go home and sleep on it. That happens rarely because we give them all the opportunities, listen to the buying signals, they're not objections. But teaching the team to do this like in real time can be golden. So delegating, back to delegation.
I'm realizing like everything that you guys do, which makes sense. It's like everything is communication and relationship based within your business, right? So a lot of the kind of the things we're going into delegation is just back to, you know, there's similarities in around what he was talking about with the sales training. It's like role play, shadowing, and that makes that makes perfect sense. Sorry, what were you gonna say next?
Just that you know, the most important part is like when it happens in live real time, it's like getting that feedback. And I meant to say, like in the beginning, when I talked about shadowing, they're shadowing me for the first few sessions, and then I start to shadow them once they feel at least they're an 8 out of 10 or higher to actually control the in-person.
And I guess you know, because even outside of training or the sales process too, like there's other things within the business that happen, right? So as an example, you know, you guys put together, you know, custom 6-week training programs, you know, that change every 6 weeks, right? I know you don't put, you know, all those together, right? That creation process is delegated. I've had multiple people make mine, right? So what about like outside of the sales process? How is that kind of a similar thing? It's like, here's how we do it, or how do you make that cookie cutter?
Yeah, we talking about like any piece of the business, how to delegate?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Yeah. Same way. I mean, like,
yeah,
I did do all the programming in the beginning, and then it got really, overwhelming as you're trying to run a business, right? And so
yeah,
the person that's in charge of program design now is Mitch, but he didn't get put in charge of it until he shadowed literally over my shoulder and saw how I went through the process and
yeah,
how to write, deliver a program. And we always think about like, I don't want to get too much in the weeds with programming, but like, we always think about like, what's the client want in the next 52 weeks? Like in the next year, like what's that client want to become? And then we work backwards, right? We reverse engineer it. And then
yep,
based on that, we kind of know the plan and where it's going to go every 4 to 6 weeks.
yeah,
Um, but the biggest thing, like it's the same, man. Like I guess
yep. It is the
boring
same.
answer, but it's the same, right? They're
Yeah,
shadowing, I'm shadowing them on things. They get to make mistakes. Uh,
yep,
Big mistakes. If they make it once, it's great. That's on me. But if they make it twice, that's usually on them. And
yep.
let them know that, right? Let them know that it's okay to make a mistake. Like, but are we going to give Ryan another heavy farmer's walk? No, because he's already let us know that it's one thing that can trigger, your neck or whatever it is. So
Yeah,
like those things we have in our, our all of our client notes and all that. But
yeah. Love it. Love it.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to recap on some of this because there's a couple of pointers that are really amazing in here, especially with the expectation uh, piece. But so what one of the things that I'm kind of just getting more clarity on is like anything delegation, right? And I haven't like thought about it in depth and just realized until now that it's all the same crap, right? I really haven't kind of clicked with that. Like delegation is literally the same thing, regardless of the responsibility, right? We become good at something, we define it, there's a description around it, there's the SOP, like you talk about, which is what standard operating procedure, is that what that is? Um, and then there's the processes in place. And then I have my employee, my team member shadow me execute at the job for a certain period of time. And then they do the job. I shadow them until they're trained up. And now I have whatever the responsibility is in the business delegated, right? That's how you kind of build it. And one of the things he mentioned, which is super important, is, if you haven't done that before, right? If you're a smaller business owner, you got to be okay with it not being perfect. This is what really holds, and it, years ago, it helped me kind of back from growing too. And now I'm just like, I trust people to do their thing, right? Um, but if you can't be okay with people kind of messing up and not doing things perfectly, you're gonna not be able to grow your company because it just doesn't happen, right? I forget who said it, but I think they said something like, man, if you can get people to do like 75% of what you do, or even 50%, like that's good, right? As well as you do something like that. But as a leader, right, regardless of the role, and we'll kind of maybe relate it to a sales manager or an owner building a sales team, you got to have expectations that it's not going to be easy, right? A lot of people want to build a sales team because they're like, okay, I sell this, I make this much money. If I get sales rep A, B, and C to sell this, man, I'm going to make this much money. But you have to go into it with the right expectations. Like in that ramp up period, you typically take a dip in income, just like he was saying at the beginning. Man, when I ramped up my first salesperson, right, he has leads coming in, his closing ratio is, X, right? And when he started onboarding people, those same appointments that would come in, they're closing it maybe at 25 to 50% of what he would. So his company's losing opportunity, but he's sacrificing the training of new people so he can build a real business. And you have to be okay with that dip, right? But once you get past it and you've kind of gone through the grind of your learning curve around your SOPs, your onboarding, your training, the way that you manage people, the way you do your sales training, the way that you kind of have your culture laid out, your team meetings, all that, and you've kind of gone through that period and you have reps producing and bringing in revenue, and now you know exactly what it looks like to predictably scale up your sales team, right? Hey, if I onboard 6 people, I know within 90 days, 4 of them are going to cycle out and 2 are going to be there. One's going to be at quota and one's going to be at 75% of quota, which means XYZ for the business, right? When you can kind of get there, man, that is an amazing place to be, but you got to be down for the get down. Just like you want sales reps to be down for your commission-based sales role and not be wusses and give up, you got to do the same thing from an entrepreneurial perspective. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that's good, from a management perspective, is he doesn't do the whole like crap sandwich or whatever it's called, right? You know, when he's shadowing somebody, it's like, hey, what I saw you do super well was A, B, and C. Great freaking work there. Would you be okay if I gave you feedback on a couple other things I saw? Right? He gets, you know, he gets them to say, yes, please give me feedback, and then he provides it for them versus doing like the fake, you know, crab sandwich, whatever, which is really fake. It's not really authentic. When you were talking through that, I'm like, yeah, that I think I actually do that once in a while. And it's not authentic at all. I love the way that you provide feedback. That's much better. And then another thing that stuck out too is that, you know, he's always improving the SOPs, right? That's one thing to realize, like when you're building a business, you know, it's never good enough. It's always going to improve, right? And so his team, they're constantly thinking through those things, which is super cool. We got, you know, roughly 10 minutes or so. Let's finish up with retention, right? So that's one thing that's really stuck out to me. You have happy team members, they don't leave. So, you know, why do people continue to, you know, work for you and show up to work every day happy?
Great question, Ryan. In the beginning, it was you know, we try to create a good culture around like what we do. We try to focus on, you know, being different for the customer, but also for our team. And what it turned into is always giving our team members opportunities to basically like learn more, gain more skills, and then earn more. But it had to go in that order. So they had to learn more first, so educate themselves, whether it's continuing education. We give an annual continuing education credit to all of our team members, so they know it's a big part of our philosophy, a big part of our culture. The second thing we do is we allow them opportunities. So I'll give you some examples, like, you know, Katie, she's into the yoga. She's doing the yoga now weekly with us, but she had a yoga ascension program that was like an 8-week program that we sold out of in like less than a week. It gave her more earning capability. So she saw the light bulb go off. It's like when we're able to make that funnel just expand a little bit. So like right now, like membership sales might be here. Ascension yoga, it opens up the funnel a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
We have, Coach Hannah doing a 5K, it opens up a little bit more. Coach Mitch doing movement screen assessments for Titleist performance screens for golfers. It opens up much bigger. And so they can see that if we're making as a business, the funnel's getting bigger, there's more at the bottom of the funnel for them to take. And so we usually those niche programs and stuff, we allow them to come and give us their proposal. We accept the idea as a good idea if it is, and we'll talk about it if it's something we want to work on. But we're always having them grow their skills and abilities and showing them that we're a space where they can do that, and showing them that pyramid of like, you know, to get to the top's like obviously like that's like kind of the owner role or like manager role right below that. Like to become a manager, you have to be able to actually, you know, you actually have to be able to train the team.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
there are levels to that. So financially, you know, it's not all about the money. I'll give you a good example. This weekend, we're doing a murder mystery at the gym. Tomorrow about 6 p.m. We're having a fun little party there with just the team, right? And so Megan had this whole idea of like, let's all bring like, you know, a meal, dessert, a side, you know, and everybody's coming in together. We're all gonna be dressed like freaks, you know, in this whole murder mystery. But it's like, for us, it's our culture. It's what our team wants to do. And I'm like, I'm all in. Like, this. And then, so it's like, it's culture building, but it's also like relationship building, but it's also like a lot of our team members, as you know, Ryan, they don't get to see each other all the time because they're on different shifts and stuff. We get to connect, we get to grow together, things outside of the gym. We do a ton of things outside of the gym to grow our culture, to grow our team internally. We also offer a profit share every quarter. So if they have a percentage of this profit share in every quarter, we used to pay it out annually. And it was like, it used to be like the old Christmas bonus. But then I thought, why am I holding on to this for the whole year when we made profit in quarter one? They should still get a piece of this, right? And so when we deliver that to them in their little, and we have quarterly, I don't know, a lot of businesses I know do this, but we have a quarterly meetup about every 2 to 3 months. We meet one-on-one with the team member and basically go over their goals, their dreams, and their desires of like who they want to become. And a lot of the time, Ryan, like this hasn't happened recently, but Mitch, like I'll say Mitch, he has more letters behind his name than I will ever have. Right?
Yeah.
He's got his master's degree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's clinical. He could work in a clinical work site setting
Yeah.
any day right now if he wanted to go do that. He has all this advanced certifications and stuff,
Yeah.
but I think he chooses to stick around because of the opportunity we afford him
Yeah.
with all the other things, So in the profit share, I was going to go back to the one-on-one meetups. Inside those one-on-one meetups, we really, really dive deep on what they want and what they want to become. And if what they want to become is like an owner, or they want to build their own gym, or they want to train a sports team, or that sort of thing, we have connections, and we actually feel like, at the top level, like we're kind of Mitch's and where Meg is growing to as a manager, like we actually want them to potentially at one point maybe grow out of their role. But
Yeah.
for us to be the ones to say, hey, like we may not be the best spot for you now, and be okay being like, actually, I know I have a connection to Utah Jazz, or I have a connection to, University of Utah Strength Conditioning, or whatever it is. And I can give them that little piece, that little in, and get them that interview or whatever. And for me, like, if that advances their career in the direction they want to go, that's what I want to do. I don't want to hold on to these people for years and years and years. Although, Ryan, you've been with us for almost 2 years now, and you haven't seen anybody leave. Elena left because she moved to Montana with her husband. He got a new job. Otherwise, she was with us for 6 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of
So,
cool.
yeah, there's a lot I have to recap on because this is freaking awesome. Okay. So there's a ton here. Kind of what you started out with is, they're in their role. If you learn more opportunities will come up to earn more. You said something along those lines. And I think from like a retention perspective, which is what we're talking about now, right? That's the ideal situation for an owner, a business, is we attract and recruit the right people, and then we retain those people, right? What's one of the cool things that he just said about, hey, if they move on, I 100% support them. That authenticity and that love for the people that he has is one of the reasons that they actually continue to work there, because he cares so deeply about them that they're attached to him and want to continue working at the company. But when you look at, when you think about retention, if you can't get clarity on what that looks like for you, at a high level, one of the good things to think about, at least this is kind of what we've done, and I see a lot of similarities in between good businesses like Ben, is you think about, income and job experience, right? If people come to your organization and they experience the best job experience that they've ever had, and you put them in a position to make more money that they've ever had, right? And you can do those two things. The money piece is not always an option within every business, but it usually is in a commission-based sales environment. But if you put people in a place to make more money than they've ever had, and you put them in a place to have a better job experience than that they've ever had, there's not going to be a reason for them to go anywhere. And so that's like the foundation of, thinking through, how do I start to retain people? I got some notes here too. One of the things that you said is, it was just kind of a side note, but until somebody's a manager, right, they got to be able to execute at the job, which is really important, right? That's regardless of the managerial job, whether it's operations or, sales leadership, right? If you're an owner and you want to, build a sales team, and you suck at selling, and you're not making like money right now, and you want to build a sales team because it's like, you think it's going to print you cash, you're not going to be able to do it because you're not going to be able to execute at the leadership role. So, whether you need to build your team or you want to advance somebody or hire somebody into sales leadership, you need to make sure that somebody can successfully perform within your business before they get the role. We, with our clients, we don't direct them to hire outside sales leadership at all. We give them a very specific path to put in place within their business so that somebody objectively proves themselves into the role. They sell consistently and show up at a high level for 3 to 6 months. Then they get a small responsibility that benefits the owner or the sales leader in the onboarding process of new reps. Once they show up at that, they get a couple more responsibilities, get a co-manager role. And once they execute at that for a while, they get the big boy, a big girl sales leadership role. And they prove themselves into the position. And that puts the owner in a place to know that they're putting the right person there that can execute, right? So that if they step away managerially, the whole thing doesn't blow up, which is really easy to do if you put the right leader in place. But from a retention perspective, they do fun events, right? The thing that they're doing this weekend, right? So they get the team together. Okay. One of the things I forgot to mention earlier too is they have consistent, team meetings. I see that a lot. If I've come in early in the mornings, you guys are kind of huddled up around that glass table, and you guys are kind of collaborating and that kind of thing, and looks like a fun meeting. So you're constantly connecting with your people. But they do fun events outside of just the cookie cutter job as well. Extremely important when building a sales team, right? We want to think about, if I have a commission-based sales rep or a primarily commission-based sales rep, and they're a producer, it's like, man, how do I continue to provide a good income and job experience to retain these fools long term? That's what I want. And, exciting things in the future are worth investing in, right? That's another note too, is like, he's talking about other income opportunities. He's talking about doing these events, whether they're small and just getting the team together or investing money into things, right? He is deciding to take his money as an owner and invest it. And from a retention perspective, that's providing a better job experience for his team. And because of that job experience, they want to continue working there. Like we had a big, business goal, that a monthly revenue goal that we just hit December 2022. And the idea was like, hey, sales team, when we hit this goal, right, which is a big thing for us, we're all going on a cruise together, right? So they hit that goal, and we're going on a cruise in the second half of 2023. And they're like, man, this is freaking awesome. The company's taking us on a cruise. And I know, like, my assumptions is that, hey, that's going to help retain maybe 1 to 2 additional people for the next 12 months, right? And it's going to cost 25 grand or whatever, but I want to invest it back into my business because it's going to provide a better job experience. It's fun, and it retains our people. So he invests into those things outside of just paying them in their comp plans too. From an income perspective, he has really unique things that he does to help, make sure that they have income opportunities, right? Which is unique if they're comparing to other gym, right? That's what people do, is like, if they like what they do, they like the industry, right? They can easily compare other gyms in this case, right? If he's doing these unique things to allow his people to be creative, which is not always going to be relevant to every role, but in his case, he's being unique and providing additional income opportunity because they deserve it. They've committed their careers to, this field, but those things are providing, better job experience and income opportunity, and making sure they retain. He said something about a quarterly one-on-one meeting too, right? When you're building a business, you're going quick. It's, one of the most important things as a leader is to invest and have some intimacy, with your people. Okay, this is insanely important, especially when building and retaining a commission-based sales force. When you bring your people on board, and this is for every role, you need to understand the things that they want to accomplish. 3 month, whatever, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, right? The 3 month, 1 year, 5 year thing, that's kind of the, a good thing to collect, right? So you can reverse engineer what your sales opportunity provides and helps them get clarity on what it looks like for them to accomplish their 3 month, 1 year, 5 year. You can have fun with it. Like, hey, let's just pretend hypothetically you're not even working here in 10 years. What exactly would you want to accomplish if you were not even working here, right? So you want to get clarity on what people want to accomplish, so they know that you care about them, their goals, their future, and you ideally want to help them, paint a picture how they can accomplish that within your opportunity. But you need to know your people and what they care about. A big one, especially in a commission-based sales opportunity, right? He mentioned, I think is Mitch technically the director of training or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he has a bunch of accolades. He's a very experienced trainer. He's a guy that can, get a job anywhere in, a similar type of field. He decides to work at Epic because of the opportunity, the community that he has with his team members, the way that he's loved at his job, his daily job experience, his income opportunity, all of those things, his relationships with Ben, right? All those things make him want to work there, right? That's what holds people together. And, you were talking about, other opportunities like the yoga thing and these things and being kind of creative, right? You're open to opening up opportunity outside of the cookie cutter Epic model. And ultimately, my point here is that you want to have a big enough opportunity, a big enough vision where champions like Mitch can picture themselves accomplishing what they want to accomplish within your business. So there's a reason to continue working there. Very relevant to building a commission-based sales force. If all you want to do is build a freaking 3-person company, you know, a sales team with 3 people because you're like, hey, I'm going to make 100K off these 3 guys and I want to make 360 per year override, right? If that's your goal, you're never going to build a good company, right? You need to have a big vision. So when you actually get lucky and get the right people, there's a reason for them to be excited about the long-term future. Extremely important. And then, you know, back to the thing where you're like, hey, if people advance out of this company and they go work at Jazz, you know, in Salt Lake City, you know, God bless them. Like that, they've earned it. That's all good. I 100% support them. You know, that could be difficult to have that perspective, right? He has that perspective because he's built a really good business, right? He's not worried about the day-to-day, like making the couple bucks. He's taken the time to build a really amazing business. And because he's taken the time to build an amazing business, he can have the proper perspective, which is the perspective that shows your people that you care about them in your future more than the money that they create for your business, which is another area that helps them say, man, these people care about me. I want to continue working here. So freaking all gold. I love it. I love it, man.
Thanks, Brian. This was awesome, man. I love your glass right there. Your
What's
green,
that?
your green Dixie cup, man. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Very
Yeah.
colorful.
I learned, I've got 2 cups here because one of these I did, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I need more water, right? But man, this is awesome. I know we got times up. I appreciate your time today. This is going to be insanely valuable to, you know, a lot of, you know, everybody that watches this. I didn't expect there to be such good information that was relevant to building a sales team. So I'm super pumped about this. And if you watch this, drop a like, a comment, subscribe. Also, you can go to, what's the website?
Yeah, so our stuff, if you want to find us online, we're just epicfitnessutah.com
Yeah.
or just Epic Fitness Utah on Instagram or Facebook. All one word, just Epic Fitness Utah. So
Yeah, Mill Creek, Utah, right? So you can find them on Google too. And if you're, you know, if you're out here in Salt Lake City and you know, you want a quality gym that you can get like a training, like a personal trainer experience, but not, you know, pay crazy amounts, right? It's a premium gym, right? But the experience, the people, you know, the way that it can benefit your body and all those things, 100%, I'm 10 out of 10, you know, from my perspective, they're the best gym to go to. So if you need a gym, go there in SLC. But I think we're good to go, my friend. I appreciate your time today.